exclusive cruises and luxury trips to stunning beach houses. And when it's time to set sail, our on-site field station ensures you are always ready to cruise in style. Big's Boat Club and Garden is located at Wale Olateju Crescent off Admiralty Way, Lekki Phase 1. Follow us on Instagram at bigsgarden_BBC. Big's Garden, where we encourage. Are you planning a special occasion, or are you looking for a place to store
Hello and welcome to News Hour on Voice of the People TV. I am Vivian Oguche. Before we begin, kindly visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. First, the headlines. Tinubu urges West Africa to convert demography, minerals into jobs and industry. Okonjo-Iweala tasks West Africa on trade barriers to $500 billion potential. Also, police nabbed 22 suspects over killing of Plateau wedding guests. And Serap urges Tinubu to refer Benue killings to ICC. Air Peace begins direct Abuja-London Heathrow flights from October 26, and that statement is credited to Keyamo. JAM fixes June 28 for UTME mop-up exam. On the foreign scene, hundreds protest against a NATO summit and Israel-Iran conflict. In business news, NBS puts surge in farm produce cost at 29%. In sports news, Nigeria dominates maiden African flag championship. In entertainment news, Nollywood actress Raji regrets backing Tinubu in 2023. Now the news in detail. President Bola Tinubu has urged West African leaders to harness the region's youthful population and abundant natural resources for economic transformation through industrialization, education, and innovation. In his opening address at the inaugural West Africa Economic Summit in Abuja, the president described the region's vibrant, youthful population as its greatest asset. However, he warned that this demographic promise could quickly become a liability if not matched by investments in education, digital infrastructure, innovation, and productive enterprise. Tinubu further emphasized the need for regional cooperation, citing Nigeria's investments in skills development, digital connectivity, and youth empowerment, stating that no single country can do this alone. He stressed that the region's prosperity depends on its supply chains, energy networks, and data frameworks, which must be designed together or they collapse separately. The president further called for urgent efforts to dismantle trade barriers across the sub-region, noting that with intra-regional trade still below 10%, West Africa must coordinate or collapse in the race for global economic relevance. Meanwhile, the Director General of the World Trade Organization, Dr. Okonjo-Iweala, has called on West African leaders to dismantle trade barriers and reduce costs. These steps, she said, will unlock the sub-region's $500 billion economic potential and secure prosperity for its young and growing population. Dr. Okonjo-Iweala, who was Nigeria's former Minister of Finance and coordinating Minister of the Economy, gave the advice in a recorded video statement she delivered virtually at the inaugural West Africa Economic Summit in Abuja. She stressed that West Africa is well positioned to become a competitive economic bloc if only it prioritizes integration, builds value chains, and embraces innovation and manufacturing. According to her, at this pivotal moment for the region, leaders have to come together to unlock trade and investment opportunities to drive growth and job creation for West Africa's nearly 460 million people, half of whom are under the age of 18. She insisted that the region has so much to build on, noting that with a $500 billion regional economy, with a dynamic entrepreneurial population, and rich critical mineral and energy resources, West Africa's creative industries are hot and not just at home. Well, in another development, President Bola Tinubu has demanded the media's lead in promoting narratives that reflect Nigeria's democratic progress and achievements. The president, who spoke at the Nigeria Union of Journalists' 70th anniversary gala night and book presentation in Abuja, said he has an unparalleled closeness with the Nigerian press in the history of the Nigerian presidency. Therefore, he urged the media to use their platform to reinforce national unity, trust, and democratic consolidation. According to Tinubu, who was represented by the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, the media must champion the narratives that reflect the country's democratic gains. He listed these to include stories of institutional reforms, infrastructural development, citizen engagement, and socio-economic advancement. He emphasized that by constructively spotlighting these milestones, the media not only honors the sacrifices that birthed the nation's democracy, but also helps to promote national cohesion and public trust in democratic institutions. He also highlighted ongoing efforts to enhance ethical journalism in Nigeria through a strategic partnership with UNESCO to establish a Category 2 Institute for Media and Information Literacy in Abuja. On a rather unfortunate note now, the Plateau State Police Command says it has arrested 22 suspects in connection with the brutal killing of 12 wedding guests in Mangu local government area. The victims were reportedly traveling from Zaria, Kaduna State to attend a wedding ceremony in Kwanpan Council of Plateau State when their bus was attacked by an angry mob after they lost their way. In a statement disclosing the arrest, the command's public relations officer, Alabo Alfred, noted that the incident occurred at about 9:47 in the evening on the 20th of June when the attackers set the bus ablaze, resulting in the deaths of some passengers while some others sustained injuries. The statement further revealed that 14 people were rescued unhurt while 21 persons were evacuated to the hospital for treatment. It added that the Commissioner of Police, Emmanuel Adesina, has deployed personnel from the State Intelligence Department, CID, and tactical teams to intensify investigations with 22 suspects already arrested. And as condemnations continue to greet Friday's killings of 12 persons traveling for a wedding in Plateau State, the Northern States Governors Forum has described the incident as a barbaric, cowardly, and having no place in a civilized society. The innocent 12, who included the groom's father and brother, were ambushed and brutally murdered in Mangu local government area of Plateau State on their way from Kaduna State to the wedding ceremony. In a statement by his Director General, Press Affairs Ismaila Misili, the chairman of the Northern Governors Forum and Governor of Gombe State, Muhammadu Yahaya, expressed deep sorrow over the loss of lives through what he called a horrific and inhumane attack. According to him, such mindless violence against innocent citizens is unacceptable and must be met with swift and decisive justice. Yahaya condoles the government and people of Kaduna State, particularly the bereaved families, while commending the Plateau State government and security agencies for their quick response, including with the rest of the suspects. He further called for a thorough investigation and prompt prosecution of all those involved to ensure justice for the victims and their families, while appealing, I should say, for calm from all sides. Meanwhile, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has urged President Bola Tinubu to refer the recent violence, unlawful killings, and other serious violations of international humanitarian and human rights in Benue State to the International Criminal Court, ICC. SERAP also urged Tinubu to refer to the ICC the other recurring and ongoing violence and serious violations of international humanitarian and human rights in the other states, or request the ICC prosecutor to extend any current investigations in Nigeria to those states. SERAP, in a letter of 21 June by its Deputy Director, Kolawole Oluwadari, reminded the President that his government has a primary responsibility to ensure accountability and justice and reparations for those grave human rights crimes. According to Serap, referring the situation in Benue State to the ICC will contribute to achieving Tinubu's expressed commitment to hunt down the perpetrators of the attacks and bring them to justice, deliver justice for victims, and restore peace in the state. It added that accountability for these brutal mass killings is urgently needed, regardless of whether the perpetrators are state or non-actors or both. Well, in Rivers State, the police command has confirmed that the administrator of Ahuada East Local Government Area, Goodluck Iheanacho, was attacked and tortured by suspected hoodlums who also made him to resign under duress. In a viral letter on social media after being held hostage in his office by over 30 hoodlums, Iheanacho had reportedly resigned from his appointment. The incident later sparked outrage and concern across the state as he was shown being manhandled and coerced into stepping down from his position. Confirming the incident, the Rivers State Police Public Relations Officer Grace Iringe Koko said the command was deeply disturbed by the violent incident that occurred on the 20th of June. She explained that the attackers, led by the Chief Security Officer and Chief of Staff to the sole administrator, Hector Ekakita, stormed the council secretariat and unleashed mayhem. According to the police, during the attack, the hoodlums assaulted the sole administrator, stole his mobile phones, forced him to sign a letter purporting his resignation, and carted away vital documents, both official and personal. The police further disclosed that while Iheanacho is currently receiving medical attention for injuries sustained during the ordeal, the command has invited Ekakita and accomplices for questioning. Well, you're still watching News Hour on Voice of the People TV. When we return, Air Peace begins direct Abuja-London Heathrow flights from the 26th of October. Stay with us for this and more stories after this short break.
Encourage you to click on the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are Voice of the People TV. Also follow us on all our social media platforms. We are at VOP TV Live. Visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. Also watch us live on SLTV channel 264. VOP TV, Voice of the People Television.
We are the station that brings you stories from the people's perspective.
We let your voice be heard. On Political Lens, we bring you deeper insights into happenings within the polity.
We create equality of representative opinion and fairness in politics, economic and diverse conversations.
Here we bring you breaking news, fresh perspectives, as well as fact-based analysis.
Watch our extraordinary shows from the People's Voice, where we get to amplify the stories and concerns of everyday Nigerians to hashtag.
To Health Check, where we share practical wellness tips and bring you deep insights from medical professionals.
Maritime Frontiers will dissect issues on port operations and more.
Every time we talk about sport, it's everything that has to do with sport, from the top to the finish. Just be with us, stay with us all of the time. We give you sporting activities just as you unfold, and that's what we do, and that's why we are called Voice of the People TV, and you already know.
We got you all covered.
Here, you have more than a voice.
Welcome back, everyone. Some good news for international travelers as Airpeace is set to begin direct flights to London Heathrow Airport from Abuja on October 26, 2025. This was disclosed in Abuja on Sunday by the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo. In a statement by his special advisor on media and communications, Tunde Moshood, Keyamo said the landmark development followed the federal government's sustained diplomatic efforts to enforce reciprocity in international air travel agreements. Keyamo further disclosed that the breakthrough was the result of his 2024 letter to the UK Secretary of State for Transport, Louise Hay, demanding the immediate allocation of landing slots at Heathrow for Airpeace or risk reciprocal action. According to him, the reciprocal action includes a potential review of British Airways and Virgin Atlantic's access to Lagos and Abuja airports. He reiterated that Nigeria was only asserting its rights under the Bilateral Air Services Agreement, which guarantees reciprocal access and fair treatment for designated flag carriers between both nations. In the meantime, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency says its operatives have arrested a 43-year-old makeup artist, Adekoya Mary, for attempting to smuggle 2.20 kilograms of cocaine concealed in her suitcase. It disclosed that Adekoya, who claimed to be traveling to India for fibroid surgery, was arrested by operatives at the Muritala Mohammed International Airport, Ikeja, Lagos, following credible intelligence. A statement by the NDLEA spokesman Femi Babafemi added that Adekoya was placed under surveillance and allowed to check in her luggage before being apprehended at the boarding gate of her Qatar Airways flight to India via Doha. Babafemi added that upon inspection, Babafemi's 2 large parcels of cocaine were found factory fitted inside the walls of her suitcase. He further revealed that during interrogation, Adekoya confessed to embarking on the trip under the guise of medical attention, but really motivated by financial incentives. According to the NDLEA, further investigation revealed that the suspect was recruited and funded by a drug baron, Akim Adekombi, who is currently at large. But to education now, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board has announced June 28 for the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination Map-Up Examination for a total of 96,838 candidates. According to JAM's Public Communications Advisor, Fabian Benjamin, the board disclosed that this number includes 5,096 spillover candidates, those who experienced biometric verification failures during the main UTME, and 91,742 candidates who were absent during the main and receipt examinations. The board further encouraged the printing of notification slips from June 23 ahead of the forthcoming exercise, which will take place in 183 centers across the country, with a few other candidates kept on standby. The board also reiterated its commitment to maintaining the integrity of its examinations by delisting 113 computer-based test centers found guilty of various infractions, including technical deficiencies and examination malpractice. It stated that these centers are currently under investigation and those found culpable will be prosecuted. Now, Lagos State is on the verge of making history by becoming the first West African zone to eliminate malaria. The Lagos State Commissioner for Health, Professor Akin Abayomi, has said. Abayomi said the state will achieve this by employing simple common sense medical practices and a robust public health strategy rather than through vaccine or genetically modified mosquitoes. Speaking during the study kickoff of Pathway to Pre-Elimination and Digitization project in Lagos, Abayomi disclosed that this ambition is driven by the state and the director of the Center for Transdisciplinary Research for Malaria and Neglected Tropical Diseases, Professor Wellington Oyibo. He stated that the focus is on malaria rapid diagnostic test and microscopy comparative study and assessment of PPMVS capacity to manage malaria and febrile illnesses. According to him, it is very important to do this once and for all, as Lagos has diligently waged a war against malaria for the past 20 years, with the cumulative efforts yielding remarkable results. He disclosed that malaria prevalence among fever patients has dropped from 15 to 20% to just about 1 to 2%. Now on to some trending moral issues. The Christian Association of Nigeria slammed as heresy the claim by the General Overseer of Christ's Mercyland Deliverance Ministry, Jeremiah Fufuyin, that giving a first fruit offering can wipe away sins, including fraud. Khan warned Nigerians against being misled by preachers of what he called dubious theological background. Reacting to the January 2022 clip, which recently resurfaced online, the National Director of National Issues and Social Welfare of Khan, Abimbola Ayuba, said that God is not fraudulent and does not share booty with crooks or condone sin simply because of offerings given in church. He added that God is not fraudulent and has more treasures than any man, as well as everything under his control. In his sermon, Fufuyin had stated that on giving first fruits brings miraculous blessings and forgiveness. According to the Bible, the Old Testament teachings that honor God with the first fruits yield of one's labor. However, the worry-based cleric has been criticized and accused of exploiting vulnerable followers by commercializing faith, including insisting that first fruit offerings could override the gravest sins. Well, coming up after this short break, world news, business, sports and entertainment stories. Stay with us.
Ever wonder what inspires your favorite gospel artists? Explore and discover the rich heritage of continental gospel music and how this transformative journey has evolved and shaped cultures around the world. As we dig deep into archival treasures, feel the energy in our praise jam, Gospel Fusion on Voice of the People television. Tune in this Sunday, 3 to 4 p.m. and be part of a transformative experience that uplifts and inspires. Join us as we explore the transformative power of gospel music and its ability to uplift spirits and unite hearts. Tune in this Sunday, 3 to 4 p.m. on Voice of the People television. Gospel Fusion. Let's fuse our hearts in praise and joy.
Everybody keep watching Voice of the People. All right? Love you all.
Hello, sweetie. What's going on? My name is Kiki. Keep watching VOP TV. Thanks.
Hey, guys. What's going on? Olumide Oru, the Fresh Prince of Lagos here, and this is VOP TV, guys.
Hello, guys. I want you to please keep on watching VOP TV.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Hafiz Oyetoro. Please keep watching VOP TV.
Shout out to VOP TV.
Very big shout out to the fans and lovers of VOP TV. My name is Tayo Faduro. I'm an actor that you are going to live to love. Keep watching. Cheers.
Hi everyone, so shout out to VOP TV.
Welcome back, everyone. On the foreign scene now, the criminal chamber specializing in terrorism cases at the Tunis Court of First Instance has sentenced in absentia the former Tunisian president, Monsef Marzouki, to 22 years in prison with immediate effect. The court also handed the same sentence to his former advisor, Ahmed Demi, that will be, and former Bar Association President Abdulrazak Kilani. The ruling stemmed from terrorism-related charges, though details of the case and specific accusations have not yet been disclosed publicly. The verdict was delivered in their absence, with the 3 men on the run abroad. 2 other defendants, also on the run, received the same sentence on similar charges. According to judicial sources, the Tunis Court of Appeal, through its indictment chamber specializing in terrorism cases, had previously ordered their referral to the criminal chamber of the Tunis Court of First Instance. The latter was therefore asked to rule on several accusations related to terrorist offenses, without the precise details of the charges being made public at this stage. And now, a regulatory agency in the Democratic Republic of Congo has announced an extension 3 months of its ban on cobalt exports in the country's bid to curb an oversupply of the key material for electric vehicle batteries. The world's largest supplier of cobalt, Congo imposed a 4-month export ban in February after prices hit a 9-year low of just $10 per pound. The ban was originally set to end this Sunday. However, the Strategic Mineral Substances Market Regulation and Control Authority said in a statement that the decision was taken to extend the temporary suspension due to the continued high level of stocks on the market. ARCOM's plans to announce a further decision to modify, extend, or lift the suspension before the end of this new 3-month period, which will conclude in September. Several industry players, including Glencore, the world's 2nd largest cobalt producer, support the introduction of these quotas. However, Glencore's position differs from that of the leading producer, the Chinese group CMOC, which is actively campaigning for the ban to be lifted. Now, hundreds of people have protested in The Hague, the Netherlands, against the North Atlantic Treaty Organization and increased military spending in advance of a summit as Iran's conflict with Israel and the United States intensifies by the day. People demonstrated on Sunday against the military alliance, Israel's punishing war in Gaza, and the Israel-Iran conflict, hours after the United States targeted 3 nuclear sites in Iran in a sudden escalatory move in support of its biggest ally in the Middle East. Hossein Hamadani, 74, an Iranian who lives in the Netherlands, said that they are opposed to war, adding that people want to live a peaceful life, stating that the things are not good. He queried why so much money is being spent on war. Meanwhile, an unnamed NATO official has said the alliance was watching the situation closely following the U.S.'s attack on Iran. The summit is expected to kick off on Tuesday, with leaders of the 32 NATO allied countries to meet a day later on Wednesday. During the meeting, the heads of state will discuss an increase in defense spending, which has been repeatedly demanded by U.S. President Donald Trump, along with thinly veiled threats to leave the military alliance. Last Thursday, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez spoke out against the agreement to increase defense spending to 5% of national gross domestic product as not only unreasonable but also counterproductive. Meanwhile, United States Vice President J.D. Vance and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth have said their country is not seeking to topple the government of Iran via regime change and also not at war with the country. Their clarification came in the wake of the U.S. unprecedented surprise attack overnight on 3 of Iran's nuclear sites. The comments on Sunday followed Washington, D.C. joining Israel's strikes on its arch foe, which have been met by daily retaliatory strikes from Iran and are now in their 10th day. Vance said the U.S. had successfully set back Iran's nuclear program, adding that President Donald Trump now hopes to pursue a diplomatic solution. He maintained that his country was not at war with Iran, but with its nuclear program. According to him, America does not want to protract this or build this out any more than it has already been built out, but to end their nuclear program. He added that they want to talk to the Iranians about a long-term settlement here. Meanwhile, Hexas claimed that the series of U.S. strikes against Iran devastated its nuclear program, as he asserted Washington was not seeking regime change in Tehran. Nevertheless, there has been no independent confirmation of how heavily the U.S. strikes impacted the sites or Tehran's nuclear efforts, which it has repeatedly said are for civilian purposes only. Now, Ukraine's commander-in-chief Oleksandr Syrskyi says the country's forces are still defending a small area of territory inside Russia that it captured almost 1 year ago. In August 2024, Ukraine launched a surprise incursion into the Kursk region, capturing over 1,000 square kilometers of Russian land. Syrskyi said that 10,000 Russian troops are attempting to drive his forces back. While Russia has repeatedly insisted it had recaptured the entire region, Syrskyi refused the claim, vowing to increase the scale and depth of strikes on Russia. He told newsmen that they will continue, given that they are not fighting against the population destroying purely military targets. Ukraine seized dozens of villages in the Kursk region shortly after its incursion started on the 6th of August 2024. President Volodymyr Zelensky said the Kursk operation established a buffer zone which prevented Russian forces from being deployed in key areas of the front in eastern Ukraine. However, Kyiv's advances stalled after Russia rushed reinforcements to the area, including thousands of troops from its ally North Korea. In recent months, Ukrainian forces have been in retreat in Kursk after facing 70,000 Russian troops and heavy drone attacks as part of Moscow's drive to regain the territory. Business news now. The National Bureau of Statistics has reported a deepening crisis in Nigeria's agricultural sector as the average cost of farm produce rose 28.98% between January and May 2025. According to the NBS, the price index for farm produce surged from 110.5 in January to 142.53 in May 2025. With this sharp increase highlighting the growing pressure on local food prices and largely driven by the nation's worsening insecurity. The most alarming surge occurred between April and May, when the price jumped by 22.28% to 142.53, highlighting the underlying disruptions in agricultural production as insecurity cripples farming activities in various parts of the country, especially in Benue State, which is the nation's food basket. Meanwhile, a new World Bank research shows that foreign direct investments flow into Nigeria and other developing economies has dwindled to the lowest level since 2005 amid rising trade and investment barriers. The World Bank said these barriers pose a significant threat to global efforts to mobilize financing for development. It stated that in 2023, which was the latest year for which data are available, developing economies received just $435 billion in FDI, being the lowest level since 2005. According to the bank, this development coincides with a global trend in which FDI flows into advanced economies have also slowed to a trickle, as high-income economies received just $336 billion in 2023, being also the lowest level since 1996. World Bank Group's chief economist and senior vice president, Idamit Gill, said this is a result of public policy. He noted that it is not coincidental that FDI is tumbling to new lows, at the same time that public debt is reaching record highs. Gill explained that private investment will now have to boost economic growth, with FDI one of the most productive forms of private investment. Over now to sports news, as Nigeria's women and men teams have been crowned champions of the inaugural African Flag Football Championship of the International Federation of American Football, which ended on Saturday in Cairo, Egypt. The Nigerian men edged a thrilling final game, winning 13-12 to claim gold over host Egypt. in front of a loud and high-spirited home crowd inside the Club One Stadium in Mahdi, Cairo, including the Minister of Youth and Sports, Ashraf Sobi. In the women's tournament, Nigeria put out a confident performance to take victory over Morocco 26-12 in the final, with 2 decisive second-half touchdowns by quarterback Arnold Wapa Bello. The wins also ensured that Nigeria secured direct passage to the IFAF Flag Football World Championships in 2026. Meanwhile, Tunisia claimed the bronze in the men's game, while hosts Egypt picked bronze in the women's event to complete the podium. The inaugural IFAF African Flag Football Championships marked a major milestone in the sports journey to the first Olympic Games appearance in Los Angeles in 2028. All the participating teams also got their first official rankings after the tournament. Well, in rugby, Kenya Morans cruised into the semi-finals of the 2025 Rugby Africa Sevens after defeating Nigeria Stallions 43-12 in a dominant quarter-final display on Sunday. The win capped a strong group stage campaign in which Kenya emerged unbeaten in Pool A, securing victories against Ghana, Uganda, and Cote d'Ivoire. The result extends the Morans' winning streak to 4 matches in the tournament. Kenya head coach Louis Kisia said after the match that Morans are a young team but with a blend of experience, and they will continue to better their performances, focusing on the next game. A tournament victory in Mauritius will secure Kenya one of the 2 available slots in SVNS Division 3, expanding their access to global competition. Well, in entertainment news, Nollywood actress Buki Raji says her support for President Bola Tinubu during the 2023 general elections was driven by business interests and misplaced trust. In a now viral interview in which she publicly apologized to Nigerians, Raji, who is popular as Aminatu Papapa, said she deeply regrets backing the Tinubu campaign and appealed to Nigerians, especially those going through hardship, to forgive her. Raji said she regretted because they said they wanted to renew hope, but she later saw it. Pleading that Nigerians should not be angry, she prayed that their sources of living would not be difficult. She cautioned that people should not vouch for someone they had not seen for a while, but should rather observe the person carefully again. Well, that does it for us on News Hour. But before we go, a quick look at the headlines. We told you that Tinubu has urged West Africa to convert demography and minerals into jobs and industry. Also, Okonjo-Iweala tasks West Africa on trade barriers to $500 billion potential. Police nabbed 22 suspects over killing of Plateau wedding guests. And Serap urges Tinubu to refer Benue killings to ICC. Air Peace begins direct Abuja-London Heathrow flights October 26. And JAM fixes June 28 for UTME mop-up exam. On the foreign scene, hundreds protest against NATO summit and Israel-Iran conflict. In business news, MBS puts surge in farm produce cost at 29%. Well, in sports news, Nigeria dominates maiden African flag championship. In entertainment news, Nollywood's actress Raji regrets backing Tinubu in 2023. Do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. On YouTube, we are Voice of the People TV. On other social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. I am Vivian Oguche, and thank you for watching.